Live. Oh, it says live. Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we are live. Hi, everyone. My name is Monica Owens. I am the political organizer here at the AAUP. I am joined today by David Hughes, Vice President of the AAUP-AFT chapter at Rutgers University. Today, we're talking about privatization in higher education, specifically in online higher education, and how the Rutgers chapter successfully organized to defend academic freedom and exercised oversight of online offerings in the Rutgers-Pearson e-college contract. This discussion is the first in what we hope will be a fruitful series of talks with AAUP chapters about organizing around privatization in online higher ed. And before we get started, I just want to give a little bit of background about sort of why we're doing this and what the context is. So as we all know, privatization in online higher education is on the rise. For-profit online corporations like Academic Partnerships, Kaplan, Wiley, Pearson, Blackboard, and others are contracting with public and private nonprofit institutions to provide digital platforms for educational content, to recruit students, to manage enrollment, to facilitate the development of course materials, and a lot more. And we know that while the use of digital platforms and online teaching tools can enrich education, sometimes institutions contracting with for-profit external companies can present problems to academic freedom and shared governance. So to help chapters mitigate some of these problems, this week AAUP launched the National Education Not Privatization Toolkit, containing resources for taking action. Our goal is to help as many AAUP chapters as possible get involved in the development and oversight of online education contracts at their institution. And a great way to take action is by passing a resolution or proposing a letter of agreement with the institution. By taking action, faculty can ensure that academic freedom and educational quality in online offerings meet the highest standards. Chapters can learn more and access model resolutions and letters by checking out the toolkit at onefacultyoneresistance.org/privatization. And with that, we'll jump right into our Q&A with David Hughes, Vice President of the AAUP-AFT Rutgers chapter, so he can tell us a little bit more about organizing efforts on this issue. So hi, David.
Hey, Monica.
Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, it's great to have you. So I'm going to jump right into the first question, just kind of about context and the issues. Can you tell us a little bit about the Rutgers contract with Pearson and the core AAUP issues that were at stake?
Yes, so this all began for us about 5 years ago. We were in between contract campaigns. I should say we're a chapter with collective bargaining rights. And so we were concerned about corporatization, and it's a complicated issue. We needed some way to explain it to the members during that comparative lull in between contracts, so that our members, when it came to the contract campaign, would fully understand the nature of our administration and what we were up against. So this Pearson thing kind of landed in our lap. Somebody leaked the contract to us, and it had clauses in it, as all of these for-profit learning management systems say, either in their contracts or in their terms of use or both, that you should not post material that is obscene, defamatory, insulting to others, sometimes harmful to children. They have very, very vague language, which is where I think the corporation is trying to prevent liability or something in this way. So, and there were lots of objectionable things about this contract. Basically, the administration was trying to convert whole degree programs at the master's level into Pearson managed programs, where every course would be on the Pearson platform, where Pearson would take charge in a very nebulous way of recruiting students, advertising and soliciting them and pre-screening them even. This all fell out. And so we got a hold of that contract. Then we used the Open Public Records Act to get it not through a leak. My usual practice when somebody leaks something is to get the document through Oprah so that I can talk about it without incriminating that person. And we really unspooled through leaks and people, administrators willing to talk, we unspooled the whole process. What we saw was that our administration had faced a kind of decision point in around 2011 when they were deciding to create what they called an online campus. And they could have actually created a very cheap set of course offerings, and they could have made the tuition 10% of what it is now, and could have created access to all kinds of people who wanted to learn at Rutgers. They chose not to do that. They could have used this opportunity to expand the faculty with good jobs at good wages, teaching these online courses, but they chose not to do that. Instead, they just chose to run it as a cash cow. So the administration made themselves very vulnerable to our criticisms because they had taken the low road on online education in a certain way. I'm not sure if I got to fully answer your question, Monica.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely getting to the heart of it, which is especially when you were talking about sort of the compromises that this contract requires of quality, and also the compromises it can make to academic freedom, especially with the obscenity clause. So can you tell us a little bit about how you framed, how you used academic freedom in your sort of framing with the chapter and with your colleagues while you were organizing?
Right.
And what tools did you use to organize? I know that you used the resolution, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So this was also a great exercise in governance and in the criticism of our failure for shared governance, because the administration, when we started criticizing them, they turned around and they said, oh, well, a faculty committee reviewed all of the proposals from Pearson and eCollege and a bunch of other firms, and they decided Pearson was the best. So we said, oh, a faculty committee. Why don't you tell us who was on that committee? And then they said, well, it was a faculty and administrator balanced committee from all 3 Rutgers campuses. So we said, oh, why don't you give us the list? They wouldn't give us the list. So we used the Open Public Records Act to get the list. And it showed that there were 10 administrators, 1 faculty member, and 9 people from New Brunswick, which is our largest campus, and 2 people from the other 2. And basically, we explained this to the members that here we had to go to Trenton and use legislation to find out who the administration claimed represented us in this decision. So for a lot of faculty, it was really kind of pulling back the veil and for them to see how corporate practices of decision-making had already seeped into our campus. And then, of course, the critical governance thing is that one thing everybody agrees that the faculty should control is the curriculum. And I'm not sure how it varies, but in many universities, faculty still really have a veto power over the curriculum. So that's what we decided to use. And we went first to the School of Arts and Sciences, because they have a meeting every semester. And the School of Arts and Sciences has to approve every undergraduate degree program and every undergraduate course, in fact. And bear in mind, at this point, Pearson wasn't attempting to run an online bachelor's degree. But we knew they wanted that because in the contract, they envisioned 20,000 students per year. So that was the big prize for them, was the School of Arts and Sciences bachelor's degree. And we basically, in one fell swoop, we denied that to them by a resolution that passed overwhelmingly. It was like 108 to 5 or something. It was the largest, the most well-attended School of Arts and Sciences faculty meeting anybody could remember. You know, we turned people out. We had, in order to get this on the agenda at all, we had a petition because you need 15 signatures, but we put it up on the web and we got 200 signatures in the space of a day or 2. So faculty got involved. Faculty cared about this. They felt it was academic freedom, and it was also a question of who ran the institution and who ran the teaching. And so after that, we called it, what did we call it? A boycott of Pearson in the School of Arts and Sciences. shortly after that, the, what was it called? It's changed names. The Graduate School New Brunswick met, and they had already, when no one was looking, approved a couple of these managed programs. So we had a resolution saying there should be no more managed programs, and that also passed overwhelmingly. And that really pretty much stopped it as far as Pearson goes.
Did you pass resolutions in any other units or any other faculty bodies outside of the School of Arts and Sciences?
Yes, well, there was a letter of support circulating around that a lot of departments signed onto. There were the resolution, it's been a few years now, but the resolution circulated around departments on all 3 campuses, and a lot of people were signing this, saying, you know, in anthropology, we will not do an online degree under Pearson, and so on. So this went around. And it, you know, so Pearson really got a bad name. The fraction of the administration that had pushed this Pearson contract very hard also was disgraced. And faculty realized for the first time in their careers, in many cases, that they could actually win something. You know, it depresses you to lose all the time, and people develop very low expectations, kind of fatalism. So we identified, again, in that kind of in-between contract period, some fights that we thought we had a high chance of winning in order to inspire people for the big contract fight.
Right. So speaking of winning, that's something we hope to, all of us, you know, hope to make a habit in our lives and in our organizing work. How, can you say a little bit more about what the results were, how the administration responded, how this message resonated with faculty, to sort of what were the results of all of this organizing work?
Well, so the result of it is that online education overall remains in its infancy in Rutgers, because there's basically a stalemate between the union and this particular vice president of lifelong learning, who was pushing the Pearson contract very hard. And in the meantime, Pearson actually got out of the business of online education. After we'd won, and not necessarily, I don't think, because we'd won, there were a lot of pressures on them, and they decided this wasn't a very profitable line of business for them. So they dumped it. And that made the administration look very bad, because, you know, here we have, in our case, a 250-year-old institution relies upon a vehicle to transmit knowledge which only lasts 2 or 3 years for us. So now they're pushing Canvas, which is a product of Instructure, and it has all of the same anti-obscenity clause, and it says you must not insult people, you must not encourage illegal activities, and so on. All very murky stuff. I mean, how can you possibly teach about the civil rights movement, for example, without encouraging an illegal activity or two? So we're ramped up over that, again, on grounds of academic freedom. The only online platforms I know of that don't restrict academic freedom are Sakai and Moodle. So we're advocating those as alternatives. I will say this is going to be a huge fight, possibly over generations, because the online, I mean, this is part of how corporations, for a long time, they were excluded from education because of the inefficiencies of having colleges and especially schools in every little town. It's a terrible business model for a corporation. So they stayed out of it. But once you overcome that geographical barrier and can centralize things on the web, it actually is a possible profit center for corporations. And this is why they're trying to get in and essentially interpose themselves between faculty and students. And that wouldn't be, that would only be, the corporation, that's only half the problem. The other half of the problem has to do with legislation in various states in the US, so that the most restrictive state, which I think is Arizona, when it comes to teaching at the
Oh no. Oh, I think we may have lost connection with David. It sounds like his mic may have gone on mute. So I guess we're going to have to close it there. I'm so sorry that we have to end it early. It looks like this is a technical difficulty that we're having right now. So we're going to wrap this up. We're going to have our next discussion on Friday, the 9th of November with Eastern Michigan University at 1 p.m. And we'll be discussing their organizing work on privatization and online higher education, a very interesting and different organizing campaign they've been working on there. So we will see you in just a few weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in.